An important thing of building egocentrism is self-identity. Who am I? What is my name? The name that is provided either by ourselves, but is not actually logically necessary, because if we are by ourselves and know we are only a singular out of the entire species, in other words, we are alone, purely alone, we do not have a concept of who we are in relation to other things and beings, animals and so forth, and humans. We don't have a context. So our egocentrism, our understanding of who we are, our structure of consciousness is retarded. It's unable to process because that expansion of it isn't there. It doesn't get experienced. So our egocentrism doesn't build into any kind of dependency structure either, because it's a relational. There's got to be something or someone there to be dependent on. So the egocentrism is directly tied to who we are and our relation to other people and things, which is why using your dog's name is extremely important, because you teach them the phrase, basically, quote unquote, therefore I am. And those are indeed words from God, right? In that sense of being who I am. And who I am is determined by who is around me. As a dog, that structure of processing is at a rudimentary level of logic and emotive structures. It is difficult for your dog to process concepts to which your dog has never experienced before, nor has the egocentrism, the relational dependencies of knowing what it means to experience emotions in a safe environment, so that the processes of the emotions, because they are foreign, they are first time experiences for your dog or your child to experience, the emotions are coming in and they're unfamiliar. And just like the person who cannot handle too much information at once and they get very stressed out, for our dogs, they don't even have an egocentrism in a familial context with humans in a cross-species cohabitative structure to be able to create that relational context and comprehension of what those feelings that your dog is feeling inside for the first time. We know dogs, like humans, can go to two core emotions: rage, right, anger, and joy, happiness. And everything else fills in between that. In humans, all along the entire endothermic biological evolutional structures, all the different species, all exist because, to go off on a somewhat digression to come back though, we have to understand that all endothermic biology shares similar mapped structures. The human brain, the dog brain, the cow brain share similar structures. Short-term memories in the same place, roughly, long-term primal, right? They're all in similar areas. So that means that the construction for the abstraction of consciousness exists in all animals, but at a corresponding dilutive scale relative to human sophistication of our consciousness. We cannot at all subscribe to the old academia that only humans have sophisticated consciousness. It is improbable, just by biology and evolution, that there is no demarcation of consciousness. There's no two-tier wealth system of consciousness. Consciousness exists all scaled through based on the biological sophistication of each structure, each species. So that means that your dog has the capacity, fully functional opportunity at their level of evolutional structure as of today, right now, to be able to process complex emotions at their scale. And that is like the analogy that I give to anyone that talks about dogs and has questions. And I say, we got to understand how dogs process, how they are processing at that dilutive scale. And it's that movie Forrest Gump, where Forrest, at the end of that movie, he looks up at Jenny and he says, Jenny, I may not be a smart man, but I know what love is. And when we hear that, we're like, oh my gosh, we viscerally feel exactly like Forrest, his heart and soul. And we are at that tinderbox where we don't know if it's going to be crushed or not. Our heart, our soul, if Jenny says no, and we were standing in the same shoes as Forrest, we viscerally understand and feel it. But then we go, wait a minute, Forrest, he's got a 78 IQ. He is quote unquote retarded. Forrest doesn't understand sophisticated human love because it is so complex. It's not just love, it's hate, it's joy, it's rage, it's insecurity, it's abandonment, it's hope, it's dreams, it's love. But we understand how Forrest now perceives love at a visceral structure of comprehension at that dilutive scale relative to our human consciousness. We understand now how Forrest is seeing things at a much more rudimentary process structures. So that means egocentrism has to occur in a relational structure for emotional development, cogency. So you see, I talk about all different strokes of life and structures, because it is a very intertwined quantum ball of consciousness that is happening in your dog's mind, and all these structures don't have any soft round corners. They don't have any emotional context for them to be processing innate predatorial behavior. That's logical behavior. Sorry, Minky's shaking out here. That's logical behavior. So what ends up happening is they only can proceed in the limitations of emotions that they understand. Nor do they understand codependency. And so by using our dog's name and saying our dog's name and saying it with a cogent compassion and understanding how they are now, your dog is understanding how he's processing, right? You now understand. Saying your dog's name is very, very important. And it creates a healthy codependency. It builds that because they're hearing their name being spoken in a foreign language with emotional context to them. They don't know what it is, but they feel inside. Your dog feels inside, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. And what ends up happening is then you teach your dog, you give your dog the opportunity to have the ability to process that circumstantial emotive structure and then compartmentalize it into an aggregative conflationary processing, which is basically quantum thinking like you and I. That's my 10 minutes. Thanks for tuning in for my 10-minute audios. Let me know if you liked it or not. Okay? Thanks. Bye-bye.